Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for tonight's hybrid meeting and presentation with the Los Alamos Mountaineers. Before we get started, I want to make sure everyone's aware that the presentation is being recorded. I'm Beth Courtwright, the operations manager here at the Pajarito Environmental Education Center, or PEEC, in Los Alamos, New Mexico, and I'll be the moderator for tonight's talk. I want to just give a quick shout out to our wonderful members and donors and our partners like the Mountaineers for everyone's generous support. For more details about other PEEC programs coming up, you can visit peaknature.org. But I'll pass it over to Tony to start the Mountaineers meeting.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Los Alamos Mountaineers program for September. I'm Tony Taylor, the president. So I have a few just brief announcements. Just to remind folks that our potpourri will be held December 13th, 2023 at Fuller Lodge, so hold that date. Then we'll have Jeff Click give us the trip report and upcoming Los Alamos Mountaineers trips. Juliana Fessenden, who's the chair of our nomination committee, will give us an update on our board nomination and election process. And then finally, we'll have our main presentation, again introduced by Juliana, a celebration of Nordic skiing, the American Birkebeiner, by Anne Satsangi. Okay, great. Okay, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jeff.
Okay, thanks, Tony. We had a number of great trips, both club-sponsored trips and individual trips that were adventurous that we're going to report on. Tony, did you want to give a little summary about? Mr. Brown?
Sorry about that. We had one more announcement that wasn't on the first view graph. So Dave Brown is a longtime mountaineer, and he is 90. And there is now a presentation, basically a celebration of his life that was put together by his caretaker and is actually showing next week in Santa Fe. So this is an announcement of that. He is really a life member of the Mountaineers and an important old-time member. So I encourage folks, if you're interested, to go and see this. Sorry about that, Jeff.
Board nomination. Do you want to talk?
Sorry, Jeff.
I'm getting my exercise.
All right. So every year we look for new board members to serve, and the various positions we have typically on the board are the president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, trip coordinator, membership chair, program chair, which is me, publicity, equipment manager, past president, and webmaster. And those are the different positions we have available for people to serve. And each of those positions has unique responsibilities. And I've sent out what those responsibilities are, and I can send them out again. But in October, we will be sending out the nominees who are interested in participating. And in November at this meeting, we will have an election to elect those nominees. And during the potpourri, we will announce who was selected on the board. And it's a great opportunity to serve the community, to help the direction of the club, a great way to make new friends. And every month we get together to talk about board activity, club activities, where we want to take the club. And we do this at each other's houses during dinner. And it's really a fun way to to get to know and to impact where the club is going. And the term of service is 1 year, and it starts in January. So if you're interested in any of these positions, you would like to serve on the board and be a part of this dynamic community, please contact me. There's my email. And we will add you to the list of nominees for our October announcement. Yep. Okay. Now I think it's you.
Thanks, Juliana. You can also contact Michael Altair, Calista Blinsky, or Patty Walls, who are also on the nominating committee.
They are.
Mhm.
Send out those.
Or just talk to them if you know them. Okay, club trips for September. I led a trip, the Latier Peak Loop, out with the trailhead at Cabresto Lake. We had 4 participants: myself, Shinshang, Tim Rennick, and Jan Velisovsky. This is a picture of Heart Lake, looking up towards the Latier Peaks. This is our sunrise from Sullivan Field. We had an early start. And it's a picture of the group there at Heart Lake, and there's a picture up on the ridge line on our approach to Latier Peak. Had beautiful weather. We thought we were going to have to cancel, but it turned out to be a great day with no rain, and it was just glorious. Bill Podorsky led a trip for the Middle Fork of the Salmon River, a raft trip, and they had 9 participants. Here's all their tents. It was a guided trip. Here's everybody soaking up some of the hot springs warmth there at one of their layovers, and a nice picture of the canyon from above, and then a nice picture of a rainbow from the river. We also had a trip led by Cecile Hemes, Frijoles Canyon hike on Labor Day. And I believe you started at the Ponderosa and hiked to the visitor center. Is that correct? And they had 8 participants: David, Joan, Dusty, John, Cindy, Paul, and Shinsong. There's a nice picture of in the canyon. If you haven't done that hike, it's just beautiful. A lot of great rock formations, and clearly it was lush in there. They had a nice visitor that they ran into down there, a big fat rattlesnake, and beaver ponds. I don't remember there being beaver ponds the last time I hiked that, so that was really, really cool to see. And then Gates of the Arctic, a trip led by Tanya Pietras. They had 5 participants: Tanya, Dana Price, Robin Goulet, Glenn Rasmussen, and Rick Rubio. And here's the crew as they're getting ready to be flown in to their starting point. And there's a picture of I think that's Tanya, out on the tundra, and just big expansive wilderness out there. I know they had a great trip, and I think Tanya's going to present on that in January. So you'll get to come to that monthly meeting. You'll get to hear more about that trip and see more pics. And then we've had a number of Monday night Pajarito ski hill hikes. 5 of those since we last met. Ellen Mills has stepped up and been leading a lot of those, and then Patty led the one last night. Those are nice. They've moved the start time up to 4:30 because the days are getting short, so they can get up and have dinner and come down. This is actually a little bit older picture, but it gives you an idea of, they usually have a wonderful potluck. Everyone brings stuff, and then we usually end the season with a potluck at Patty's house and a hike line at Pipeline, and we'll need to coordinate with Ellen to see how that's going to probably come up pretty soon. So keep an eye; it'll be on the Mountaineers website. We'll get it posted as a trip. But the days are getting short, getting harder to fit it all in time for as the season comes to a close. We've had a number of adventurous trips by LAM members that I wanted to report on this month. So Tony Taylor, in her quest to climb all the Centennial Peaks, summited Hagerman Peak in early September. Well done, there's Tony on the summit. And then And, I didn't ask Tony, were there others with you? Because somebody took that picture. Okay. And then here's in the mid-September, this is on Arrow Peak, and she completed that quest. Really well done, Tony. That's really remarkable. And for those of you that don't know, the first woman in New Mexico to climb the Colorado's 100 highest is a longtime club member. Gina was at the time Gina Pasquale, now Gina Dorn, and she has been an active member over the years. So we have a long line of stout women climbing Colorado's 100 highest. So well done. That's a picture from the top of Arrow Peak. That's the view from Arrow Peak. Just what amazing country up there, huh? And this is on her approach up to Trinity Peak, getting an early morning start, looks like. Well done. And then we also had Charlie Strauss had a number of adventures. This is bushwhacking in the Waptis River in the Wenatchee Wilderness in Washington State in early September. And then here's Charlie at the Boundary Waters in Canada, I believe, in mid-September on a canoeing trip. And then Michael Walker climbed Mount Hesperus and Mount Sneffels in kind of late September, just last weekend actually. And there's a picture of him on summit, and here's a picture of him on the summit of Sneffels. Well done. And then future Mountaineers Club trips and announcements. Bill Podorski is currently doing a walking tour in Italy. This is a Roman roads tours where they walk from the mountains to the sea. Patty led an all-women's trip of similar trip a year ago at this time. Then we have the Moon Over the Hoodoos that Michael Altair is leading here just next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Michael, anything you want to say about that trip?
We'll be reconvening after this is over at the Tub, sign the waivers, and talk about carpooling, shuttle, and expectations.
So participants that have signed up so far are meeting at the Tub after to sign the waivers and to organize carpooling. Thanks, Michael, and thanks for leading that. And then we have our monthly PEEK LAM fall day hike in Nambe Badlands that Clarissa Jablinski is going to be leading on October 7th. And then a Yama adventure into Harris Wash in the first part of October that Bill Podorski is leading. I believe that trip is full, but I think there is a wait list. And then the annual Moab Bike Hike Explore that Bill leads every November with a large group of us. And I believe Evan Rose also has a second house in addition to the 2 large Airbnbs we've got reserved for that. So that should be a big group this year with a lot of day trips on that one. And then a bluff hiking weekend in November 29th to December 3rd that Bill is also leading. And just an invitation to troop leaders. I encourage you to consider leading one trip this year. Simple day trips are an easy way to start, and no trip is too small. And often it just takes a little initiative for someone to organize a trip, and lots of people get to join in and participate. So I encourage you to think about that. And if you have any questions or want any help with that, please contact me. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Beth. And I just want to say, Beth, thank you for all you do for these monthly meetings. You are just awesome.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, so this is the time where if you've heard this 600 times before, you can tune out just for just a minute. So the logistics for the presentation, before we get started, our presenter is going to be taking questions via Zoom chat and from the in-person audience. So for those of you watching from home, you can find the chat feature in the Zoom app menu bar. Type your questions to the one that says PEEK moderator, and it has my name, Beth, in parentheses, in the chat window anytime during the talk, and I'll read them during the question and answer session at the end. Please remember that not everyone in the room here with us can have a microphone on them. I wish they could. I wish you could show you the presenter on video, but we don't have the capability, I'm sorry. But there may be a delay when we're listening to the questions from the live audience. Don't worry, we'll be back on in a second and we'll repeat the question for everyone to hear. After the talk, you get a short evaluation. A lot of you have seen this many times. Please do take just a second to fill that out. Your input really helps us improve future programs and report to funders. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Juliana to introduce tonight's speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And Beth does a whole heck of a lot. She helps so much get the speakers' presentations going, assembling all of our slides, doing dry runs. So it is a lot. So thank you so much, Beth. So I get the honor to introduce my friend, Anne Satsangi, and she's going to talk to us about a celebration of Nordic skiing, the American Birkebeiner. And so just to give you a little heads up, Anne's been here for about a year and a half now, maybe 2 years. 14 months, and she is extremely active. It's been fun to get to know her, very fun to be on trips with her, good hiker, biker, skier. We're going to do the Grand Canyon this weekend, so just a lot of fun. So I'm very honored that she decided to come and talk to us about one of her passions. So I'll just...
All right, I'll just check that I'm on. Great. All right, thank you. So I'm going to give a little background of the American Birkebeiner, tell you a little bit about what it's all about, and then share with you some personal stories of this adventure. And while it is a ski race, this isn't a racing community as much as the ski club or something. So I'm focused on the adventure of it all and the celebration of Nordic skiing, the celebration of winter that it invokes. And you'll see here the Birkie Ski Run Bike Live. This is a ski race that has grown into a whole lifestyle promotion of active living and something that we all embrace here. So first of all, why is it such a big celebration? It is the biggest, largest ski race of Nordic skiing in the country, in North America, in fact, one of the largest in the world. This is a headline from Duluth paper last year, over 11,000 skiers expected in this race. You can see some of the mass of skiers setting off from the starting line. It's a marathon race of 50 or 55 kilometers, depending on, it's 50 kilometers skating, 55 kilometers for classic skiing. There's, in addition to the main race, there's a host of activities throughout the week. So this is a whole week of skiing and celebrating skiing and winter. So the Barnaburkie, little kids from 2 years on up, the Birkebeiner skijoring, if anybody knows about that sport, and if you see me up on the Pajarito with my dog, I have the harness and we'll do some skijoring. The paraski, there's junior races, which are pretty competitive junior level races. And then there are sprint races down the main street of town, which are really exciting to watch. And there's the giant ski race, which up there in the right corner is 6 people on one giant pair of skis. So all of this happens over the week. The other reason it's a great celebration, I've skied many, many places, have a lot of background in skiing, and these have got to be the best set tracks I've ever skied on anywhere. They know how to do it well. It's 55 kilometers of a beautiful trail. This is a big race, so it's wide. You can see that. They have quality classic tracks set and a space for skating so they don't mung up the classic tracks. And that just makes it a wonderful experience. They do this each day. There's a series of through the week, they have an open track race where you can ski this without the mass start. This is something they started with COVID when they held the race, but they had everybody spread out of 6 feet away at minimum, but spread out, and people liked that a lot. And that is an option. So they prep the course on Wednesday for one race. Then on Friday, they have the Kordelopet. That's half a race. It's 39 kilometers, a little more than half. They prep the course for that. And then on Saturday, they have the full Birkie, and they prep the course for that again. And this is in Wisconsin. Yes, thank you. This is in northern Wisconsin. And so actually a good transition to the other part of it is the community that it brings together. So you saw there's 11,000 skiers come to this race with all their kids, with all their dogs, with all their entourage of fans. This is a town of 2,500, and they embrace it. They come out, the schools are off for the whole week, everyone's volunteering. And so it is really, really a whole celebratory atmosphere all around town. It wasn't always this way. Northern Wisconsin is kind of snowmobile heaven, and snowmobilers and cross-country skiers don't always see eye to eye. But they have come to love the skiers and to work together. There is a well-known hill on the course where it started off in just the snowmobilers all lined up, and they would have scorecards, and they would rate the crashes on this downhill, and it was sort of a little bit nasty in the beginning, but it has come to be a fun thing, and everybody knows that hill when you get there. If you take a good tumble, you got to certainly make a show of it. But the fans are fantastic, and the crowd and the volunteers. So let me go back to what is Birkebeiner, and what does that mean for those of you not familiar with the Nordic skiing language and history. Birkebeiner in Norwegian language means the birch binders that the soldiers would wear in the 1200s. And so in the 1200s, Norway was going through a civil war. There was a illegitimate prince of the king born. The king of Norway was then killed. They knew that the heir to the throne would be a target for the other faction. And so the Birkebeiners took the child and fled with the child. And rather than go on standard roads, they had to go over a big mountain using their Nordic skiing skills, and thereby saving the prince, who later became the king of Norway and actually led Norway into a very golden age of peace and was a turn in Norway's history. So in Norway, they started a Birkebeiner race to celebrate this, commemorate this trip over the mountain. And that started in the 1930s or so. And then a man by the name of Tony Weiss in Wisconsin with Norwegian heritage brought this to the US and promoting Nordic skiing in the Midwest. It had kind of grown in the East, Vermont and such, but was taking hold in the Midwest. A little bit more history from the personal side. These are my parents, my mom, who skied one of the early Birkebeiners. So the first Birkebeiner in Wisconsin was in 1973. My dad also skied many of the early Birkebeiners. This is myself and my sister, and I have two other sisters, all who ski, and we would go cheer our parents on early years for the Birkebeiner. So it's been a long part of my life growing up. Early in my life, in my teens, I did the Kordelopet, but there is an age limit for the Birkebeiner, you have to be 18 in order to ski the Birkebeiner. So I went off to the rest of my life, and then came to be almost 50, and I realized, I thought I was some big skier in the past, but I've never done the Birkebeiner, the full Birkebeiner. So I rousted up some fellow adventurers, and we set out on our adventure of doing the Birkebeiner. And it's truly an adventure, and we've done it every year. I think this will be our 6th year or so coming up. And so I take it on as an adventure, where these are pictures of the training for it. Includes all kinds of adventures, be it hiking, biking, climbing, skiing, snowshoeing. I view that all as a part of the endeavor. And you can see some of our own folks here, where I joined Jean on a trip in the Valle Caldera, doing some backcountry skiing. Yeah. So as our week began there, we have a group of adventurers who have come together, done this several years in a row, and we have scoped out for a while the giant ski race. And so last year we got a team together and we entered the giant ski race. And this is our team, the Midwinter Monarch Migration. So you can see us spreading our wings there at the start. Now, this is a 50-meter race down the main street in heats of 2, and it looks simple, but it is not so easy to get 6 people on a giant ski coordinated together. We had our little mishaps. It was hard to keep straight. We were sliding to the side a little bit, but we brought it back, and we won our heat. So that was good. We had a lot of competition. Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs were no joke. They were pretty good. And then these lumberjacks called the Nimrods, they are very serious, and they have won it the last few years. They have a YouTube channel if you were interested in looking them up. They really tout their skiing. So we are entered again for this coming year. The Midwinter Monarchs will be back, and we'll see how we do next year, or this coming year. So then about half of our crew is doing the Kordelopet. That's the shorter race of 39 kilometers. In our group, we mostly have people do the classic techniques. So if you're not familiar, there's skating, much like speed skating, where you're going side to side in a skating motion, and there's classic technique. That is sort of the old style, therefore classic, in a track, going straight with your skis straight. So this is our crowd heading off. They set off early. There's a bus that comes around to all the hotels in town, picks people up at 4 in the morning or something, and not quite as early for the you can see the sun's up for the Kordelopet, and they headed off to the start. This is them at the start, ready to go. And then we went back, those of us waiting. There are all kinds of things around town. This is a big celebration. There's, it's in the middle of Wisconsin. If you know anything about Wisconsin, it has to do with cows and cheese and milk and things. So the Kemp's tent is a big central thing in downtown, where they have a lot of food and milk, and they're set up with s'mores. So for all the people waiting, there's a nice museum of some memorabilia of skiing and of the history of the Birkebeiner. In the lower left, you'll see we were playing around on the ice some, and this is one of our monarchs who happens to be from South Carolina and has taken up skiing enthusiastically and decided right away she'll do the Birkebeiner, which is a pretty big step. But we were out there on the lake to start to cheer people in, and someone had cleared this little path of ice and she suddenly realized, I'm standing on ice. Wait a minute, and just the glory of someone who's never done that before was quite fascinating, and she had a lot of fun. The lower right, they had the reindeer out for, this was a baby reindeer. You can come hang out with them. And then in the upper right, we found the perfect place to cheer the skiers in. This is the local sauna shop, and they have there the little house with the window is actually a demo sauna that's open for use. And so this was a great place to wait for the skiers to come back. So here we are, cheering them in after 39 kilometers of a pretty hilly course. It's no joke there. It's not the mountains, but nonetheless, there's some big hills, some fast trails. Then they come across the frozen lake right into town and finish on the main street. So here we are out cheering them in as our monarchs come. You can see in the lower right, that's my daughter Yamuna. She's got her wings on. So after having so much fun with the giant ski, we decided, these wings are kind of cool. And some of our team wore them in their whole race, and they were a lot of fun to ski in. There's people out on the lake making all kinds of fanfare. This man in the big fur hat had his makeshift drum out, and there's a lot of bells, a lot of drums, a lot of fanfare. Here come our other members, and you can see I even put on my wings, and I have my bell in my hand. That's me cheering them in there. And when they finish, they're very happy. And there are so many skiers. So you see all the skis lined up. The organizers for this race are amazing. This is one event that goes so smoothly. And I think that makes it all the more a joy to enjoy the whole thing. Is it's just very smoothly run from start to finish. At the finish, you go in these tents. You have big bags they take from the start to the finish. You can go in those tents, change, get warm. And you go in the next tent and they have food and all kinds of things afterwards. So then the big day for the Birkie itself dawns. This is 3 of us heading off to do the Birkie. We usually lay out our ski gear flat the night before, so we're ready to go. That's our flat skiers. We prep our skis. This is my friend Sarah, who might be on the Zoom. I'm not sure, but she is flying out here tomorrow for our next adventure. But she is putting on a last bit of wax for her skis. The skiers all gather. There's this tension in the air. There's big tents to stay warm while you're waiting for your start wave to happen. And you can see there's a barn in this hallway with all the flags as everybody's anxiously awaiting their start. And then it gets off and going. 55 kilometers for us classic. Our South Carolina buddy here, Melissa, with the wings, she was doing the skating race. They just go 50, but they usually get there faster anyway, despite even with the distance, they go pretty fast. But like I said, it's very hilly course. They have notable hills with key names to them, so people come back again and again, and they know just where those hills are. There's one particularly steep hill, which means doing the herringbone for those, which is, with your skis in a V and stepping up the hill. It's very tough, and that one they call Bitch Hill at 40K. It has a name, it has a button you get, people hand out. There even was a comedian before COVID. There was this Father Birkie, who would stand at the top of the hill, and there was a set of the Clister sisters who would stand up there too, and he would tell jokes as you went up the hill, and then they would, if you felt like you could take the break and take a stop, they would forgive you for your language as you came up the hill, and give you the pin and stuff. So there's all kinds of interesting, fun things along the way. And I learned this from having done a wealth of ski racing in my younger years. Coming into it the first time, you have to start in the back. And, unless you do some qualifying race and get a seed time, your first time, otherwise, you start in the last wave. And I thought at first that might be difficult because you have to pass people and come up through other waves. But it actually was really fun because all this stuff happens more in the back. So I mentioned the 40K hill. There are one of the first big hills are the Powerline drummers. They have this big band of drummers out there, and you can hear it all the way down this Powerline hill where you come up and up. And then there's another set where they were handing out beads. There's the shot ski. You get to one place and they have like a ski built with shot glasses, and you ski up like 5 at a time, and they go, okay. Anyway, there are all kinds of crazy things along the way, which makes it a lot of fun in the back of the pack. All right, and then in remembering the history here, each year they select a set of warriors, and the mother and prince to ski the course. They ski the entire course, usually on wooden skis or even antique Nordic style skis. They set off at the beginning of the race to lead off the start of the race. They go along the way, they talk to the crowd. Here they are saying a big hello, and then this is my husband. They're playing around with the sword and stuff, having some fun. They ski the whole race, and then bring that to the crowd. So as we were skiing the Birkie, the rest of our team goes back to Hayward. That's the town where it finishes, and they did a little local poking around some of the other big things there in northern Wisconsin, and Hayward are fishing, big fly fishing place. It also happens to be noted, besides the Birkebeiner, for the largest muskie caught in the world. That's not this muskie, but this muskie is a visitor center of type. You can go up inside, but they are noted for the largest in the world. They're also noted for Wisconsin beer. There's plenty of bars there should you like to do it. And then there's my husband again. He really found that s'mores station nice. So back to the s'mores station to wait for the racers. Oh yeah, and I mentioned the whole town gets into it. So there was a cool Lego display in one of the storefront windows. They tried to represent all the different aspects of this Birkie celebration throughout. So there are, if you look closely there are skiers, there are the dog skijorers. You see at the bottom there the giant ski race, all in Legos. All right, and then as you come into town, you come off the lake, come into town, there's a big bridge, and this is a famous Birkie Bridge. It goes over the main highway and right to Main Street. And this is probably one of the hardest uphills on the course because you're just at the end and you've come across that flat lake, and now all of a sudden you have to do a hill again. The downhill's no joke either, because usually it's soft at the bottom and it kind of like it's down and then flat. And But that is the final hill, and then it's up the main street and into town. I mentioned the sauna shop. Here's our crew out in front of the sauna shop ringing the bells, and that's a very Nordic country thing to do, is to have the bells all ringing on the course. And so as you come in off that lake, you just hear tons of bells and bells and bells. It's really nice. And then everybody's happy. It's quite an experience and quite an exuberant time with this whole celebratory atmosphere throughout the week. And I think my daughter here with the wings, that was captured by one of the race photographers just after she finished, and kind of captures the spirit of that. And so we really enjoyed this ski, run, bike, live throughout. Oh, I did it. I touched it. I shouldn't have done it. Can I go back now? Okay, good. I was trying to get to the link. Bring. Oh, it did have a. Sorry, we have to skip the ads there. So they call this Birkie Fever, is when you get hooked on the celebration of it all and the lifestyle of being active and coming out and enjoying the winter and celebrating. And so I hope that many of you might be inspired and come to Wisconsin someday. We have, a group, and we're always welcome more to come out and join us and do the Birkie. Maybe there's a Southwest Nordic ski or Los Alamos giant ski team someday. So I invite you all to come and catch the Birkie Fever. So. All right. So we'll start taking questions. We can start here in the room. Sorry, Zach.
So is there a bike and run portion, or is that?
So yes, in fact, okay. So he's asking, is there a bike and run portion? In fact, yes. I focused on the skiing because this started as a skiing event. But it has built into so much more, and so they use that trail, that 55-kilometer trail, throughout the year for many events. And they have big biking events, big trail running events, all of that. They have built like kids ski programs and trail running programs and everything throughout that. So you can go in the off season and do your biking too. Yeah. Okay, Jean. Yeah.
And for the mere mortal, what kind of times do people have for the shorter and longer races?
Yeah. Okay. She asks what kind of times do people do for this? So some of the winners will get through this in under 2 hours. They're really fast. At the upper end, it's like 8 hours, 8 or 9 hours. And then they do have a cutoff, so people aren't out there in the dark. And they actually have an award called the Bronze Broom. It's a beautiful big broom award for the last person in, so the sweeper of the trail. Yeah. Okay, in the back there.
What's the time difference between the waves? They're all 15 minutes apart.
Yeah, okay. So Zach asks about the time difference between the waves. So there's so many people, they start in waves. And there's I think it's 5 minutes between each wave, but they alternate the waves skating and classic. And in the first part of the race, there's separate courses. That's why one is 50 kilometers and one is 55 kilometers. So it is beautiful for the classic. I do classic, and to have your own classic trail, no skaters, and it's a gorgeous course through the woods. And then they come together at the halfway point, and then they're skiing together after that. But so they alternating that, you're 10 minutes on either course, you're 10 minutes between waves as you get off. But they amazingly quickly kind of mingle. And there are, I think, 8 skating waves and 5 or 6 classic waves. So it's spread over a fair amount of time. There were a bunch of hands. Sylvie?
Tell us about lodging since it's such a small town.
Okay. Yeah, the question is about lodging in such a small town. I said that it's a town of 2,500. They have limited lodging in town. It has grown, but
then it gets to work,
but people
reversing years of vision decline within days.
There's a lot of fishing camps.
So if you've been dealing with blurry vision,
around the
cataract,
area, and there's a
macular
lot
degeneration,
of
glaucoma,
cabins around
or any
the area,
other eye-related
so
problems,
are spread out all over.
this breakthrough could be a game changer.
There are people who
I strongly recommend you to take a moment, tap the link
sleep in
below,
the church.
and watch a brief,
like for
entirely
$10
free
you can
video
sleep
that
in
will
the
explain
church,
how you can start using this method today.
basement, and
It has already proven
various
successful
things
for over
like
110,000 individuals.
happen in
So it stands to
town.
reason that it could work for you too.
Stay
Even
all
if
in
you've
the
been battling declining
surrounding
eyesight and
towns,
poor vision for
in
5, 10,
similar-
even 20 years.
Similar ways.
Imagine this. No more struggling
So
with blurry
it's somewhat
vision, no more
spread
eye
out.
strain, and best of all, no more
Hayward
visits to an
itself is about a
optometrist.
3-hour drive
The
from
giants
the
in the
Twin
vision care
Cities.
industry don't
So
want
if
you to
really
find
need
this
to,
video
you can
and learn about the fastest,
stay
most
there in the
effective
cities
method for
and
vision
get up
restoration on the
early and
planet.
drive
So
up.
tap the
That's
link below and
possible
watch
too.
the video while you still have the chance.
It happens if anyone is interested in coming. We happen to have rooms at the one hotel with the hot tub. And it's hard to get these rooms. You have to keep them year after year. And so we got in, and we've got 3 rooms there that we're holding on. But anyway, okay. Someone else had a question. No.
So that was 2 of the exact questions that came in online as well, but we have more
here's
in person.
another
Yeah.
question.
It's everything you
Oh,
wish
yeah.
for. Your site
So
traffic
the
is
question is, who
skyrocketing.
provides the
Until
giant ski
this
for the
happens.
6 people?
Be careful
This
what
is
you
put
wish
on,
for.
provided by
Build
the
your
race
site on a platform that's engineered for success. So as traffic
directors, or the
spikes,
race
instead
has
of
the
overloading your
skis.
servers,
Um,
your site
They do
infrastructure
2 at a time
scales to handle
in a
it.
heat down the main street.
Backed up by tens of thousands of
For a couple
servers
reasons. You
worldwide,
don't want to get
maintaining
tangled on skis, and giant
99.98%
skis would just make it much
uptime.
worse. But also they have 2 pairs of skis. So actually, I think they have 4. So they send 1 pair down, and then they can set up the next while they have runners who bring the skis back, and then the other pair goes. Now, if you look at the Nimrod YouTubes, you can see they've built some and they've been practicing. So it may be something we have to consider someday. If we had a New Mexico, a Los Alamos team, we could practice up here on the Pajarito. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Are there entry fees? Yes, there are entry fees. Like any big marathon race, it's around, I think it was 165 to start, and then goes up through time. So you want to register early. It also fills up. Like I said, it's almost all filled. And then the giant ski is $10. So, and then the Cordalopa is in between. There is a 15-kilometer race also. Different entry fees.
Ship was the pride of the American
Oh, okay. When is the event? It's the 4th weekend of February. And so
with a crew and good captain well seasoned.
A big thing this year is it happens to be the 50th anniversary, and also something major happening in Nordic skiing this year is that the U.S. is hosting a World Cup race for the first time in about 30 years, and it will be in Minneapolis. In downtown Minneapolis, there's a park with a great man-made snow loop, and it's a fantastic So my plans are to go out there, see the World Cup, and then go.
And every man knew as the captain did too, 'twas the witch of November come stealing. The dawn came late and the breakfast had to wait when the gales of November came slashing.
Okay.
When afternoon came, it was freezing rain. In the face of a hurricane.
Zach here is adding that there is a rumor out that Johansson Fleibel is the fastest skier in the world, is going to come for the Birkie. There also is a confirmed that Jessie Diggins is going to ski the Birkie, and she is our reigning U.S. women's leader, and the U.S. women have really come up in rankings and are doing fantastic in the world. And so she, like me, is saying, I did all the skiing and I haven't done the Birkie because I was under 18 and when my family was going. And so she is doing the Birkie for the first time this year. So this is a big year. There will be some big name skiers. Not during this week. They built into the whole Birkie lifestyle here throughout. They have different ski club events, and they have some clinics and things. A few weeks before, they have, like, you can ski the course just without the race. They have pre-Birkie harder races, things like that. But they have clinics there, but it's not part of this week. Any other questions?
So actually, all the questions online overlap exactly with all the questions in person. So keep watching on the chat, questions, and here in the room as well.
Old Michigan steams like a young man.
That's it.
I wanted to give a plug for our Southwest Nordic Club here, because they manage the trails here at Pajarito, and doing those trails is not easy. And it's good time and effort and machinery and everything. So if you're out skiing and not part of Southwest Nordic, that little entry fee helps support the trail maintenance and everything up there. And we have lessons. Sana and I helped out a little bit last year, but and Laura, a couple of the coaches there, give lessons regularly on the weekends. So you can keep your eye out for those clinics.
So, see any more questions? So, just want to say thank you so much, Anne, for sharing the Nordic ski adventures with us tonight. And everyone, please remember to look out for that quick survey coming to your email. And check out the PEEC website for more great fall programming. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us this evening, and have a good night.
The legend lives